Is it recording?
It's underway.
Yeah. You go.
Yeah. So, fuck, I forgot to check when you came on. It was like one of the first few.
Maybe.
It was 2017.
Yeah. First handful, I think.
Right. When was
Shit.
it? I'm scrolling. Introducing Stag. Liam McElwee. That was one. Luke Taylor. Graham. Tony Dodds. Cliff Harvey. Eddie Dawkins. Keegan Smith. Ben Logan. Alex McCall. Don Batiste. Michael Lovegrove. Brian Schofield. Tim Doyle. Oh, there we go. 18. Iosefa Tuiasau.
Oh, bro. That's my my girlfriend's and my lucky numbers put together. So let's fucking go.
Which one are you? 8 or 1?
I'm 8. She's 10.
Oh, you're very lucky in China as well, mate.
Oh, it's just lucky. Yeah, I do quick math over here. Quick math.
Yeah.
But how about that, bro? Like barber shops.
Mm-hmm.
Like the reason that I go to my barber is the conversations that we have. And go from anything from being like the week that was to high level political debates. I feel that's just
who is your barber?
Just
because
like,
they need shout out, because that's what you look for when you go to the barber.
Ricky, barber's chair. You know who you are. Thank you so much. You clean me up, but yeah, I better be first on your list when it gets back down to level 2, bro.
Yeah, I got into CC's. Sorry, I don't know his actual name. I've only been there twice, but he's a legend. He has such a minimalist feel. He's got a beautiful Hereford skin on the floor. Just cheers, big mirror. He's a big dude. It's good chats.
Is that in Kingsland?
Oh, this is in Hastings.
Oh,
sure. Right. I'm going to look it up because he's worth it. Same in Hamilton. Fox Kennedy Barbers. They are champs. And in Invercargill, shout out to my hometown, Chaos, which is a salon. But Mike,
I thought his guy's name was Chaos. I was like, damn, that's an aggressive name, but I like it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, the barber / hairdresser in Chaos is Mike, so it's a salon, but you will have a barber experience when you go see Mike. He will shoot your ear off. It's awesome. Right.
Yeah. Mate, I reckon that's important. Like, even when let's get into some heavy stuff, eh?
Hey, you go with that. What's important about chewing your ear off?
Oh, I think it's important, man. Like, how often do we get to like just be super like exposed to somebody who can just end your life with like a slip of a razor blade, but also just like but dive like super deep into their own psychology through just chatting with you. It's like it's such an interesting experience. Yeah, that's why you got to pick your barber well. And if they don't offer you like a hot shave afterwards, you know, you're not like going to the right place. You got to have a place that's willing to give you a hot shave.
Mate, my hairdresser is too exclusive. I can't find him on Google. I must have a yarn to him. Maybe he's that booked up because he's so good.
Maybe that. Yeah.
I'll have to find out for another episode. Yeah, I reckon that's the difference. So I have in the front of my journal this thing called the Goldman Sachs Unofficial Guide to Being a Man, and one of the one of the rules which they say also don't follow the rules, but one of the guidelines is to if you are a man, to have a man, preferably an older man, cut your hair, so that the description is, you know, this dude can tell, he's in Hong Kong, he can tell you about the Chinese occupation in Hong Kong, or he can hand you a Playboy, just whatever you want. And that's same with my barber. He's like, I can do your hair in 5 minutes, or we can be here for half an hour.
Well, I think that's like a super, super important place to be. Like, especially now in the psychology that we live in collectively, is that you have a place where you can bring your issues to the table. Like the Athenians and the Trojans and the Spartans, they all had the arena, right, where they challenge themselves both physically and mentally every single day. And like, you know, how often do we just kind of sit behind like what we're kind of good at and not challenge ourselves every single day to just challenge ourselves every single day. And that's like what old people do. That's why why Greg Popovich, I think like one of the cool stories about him is that after they lost like an NBA final, I think I might have shared this story with you before. I don't know if it was on a podcast or just when we chatted, but Popovich, I think they lost like game 7 of the playoff for the NBA's, and he got everyone. So pretty much they're out of the playoffs, but he got everyone out of the locker room after they were changed. He booked a table. Family and everyone was allowed to come, and they sat down and they ate together. And I think that's and that was just by the first 20 minutes was awful because no one wanted to talk. They were just looking, and the menus couldn't exchange eye contact. But then like they slowly started breaking the ice, and it became like the reality that they had lost. I guess there was the death of the story that they were going to be NBA champions, and there were some tears. And then they had dinner, they broke bread, and they moved on together. And I think like that's the important thing that older people can kind of share with us, was like the importance of like spending time together, you know? I don't know how that came about, but it just popped into my head. So yeah.
That's me. What I took out of that is like when you're married to the story, and that's the beautiful thing about sports, is you get to buy into this passion, this vision, this story, and it motivates you. I was talking about in the previous podcast about having that part of you that's accountable to something. That's why teams and story and narrative is so important, because it gives you a guiding light, a way to direct yourself to. But then sitting down and conversing brings back that human element, and also that element of we're in reality now. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it was like, because that's essentially what suffering is, right? It was like, or pain, or like any adversity. It's like when you're shown by a mirror of reality that the story that you're trying to believe in isn't real anymore. And so you need to so you really need to be fucking done with it. And whether that's like conversing or shedding tears or getting introspective, sweating, whatever your process is that like that's it, right? Like I don't know.
Holy fuck, man.
I know some things.
Man, suffering is the mirror telling you that the story you believe in is done or isn't working anymore. Man.
I don't know what I said, bro.
That's what you said.
It's just
I'm reflecting it back to you, man. That is awesome. And I've been going through a few of those. It's truth. You should write that down. That should become a meme and be on a book. And
it's on a podcast, bro.
It's on a podcast now.
No, man. I think it's like a weird thing to. No one wants to like go through like pain and adversity and suffering, and there's always this like, fuck, this sucks. But I know it's going to be good. Like the result is going to be, or the outcome, or the learning, or the growth, or the development from it is going to be good. You know, like there's that. I think there's the whatever adversity that you're going through. There's lots of different ways and archetypes that people kind of put them into. But Rogan's been popularized this idea of like the hero's journey. and like being like your own hero. And like at some point, like you're going to have to go through like the belly of the beast, like to kind of, I guess that's applicable because you're a hunting phenom.
Trying to be anyway.
uh, yeah, but it's the idea is that like the pain, the suffering, the adversities are going to come. So it's like you should go and seek out the pain and the suffering and the challenges before they come and flood you. So it's like, like we say all these things about like sports teach life lessons, and all of these things teach different life lessons, but it's like the actual act of seeking out adversity and hardship and learning to the processes of overcoming those actually is like the part where you end up being able to handle fucking global pandemics and breaking up in relationships, having failing at juggling. Like, like I just sat here for the last 15 minutes trying to juggle 5 balls, and I failed miserably, and I lost one into the ocean. So I'm juggling 4 balls for the next day or two. But it's all good. Like we learn that we can keep growing, and we can handle. We're a lot more resilient and human than we give ourselves credit for.
Yeah, man. Juggling is awesome, and this last weekend with the Real Movement Intensive, I got another mirror that showed up to me. So Keegan had some space to fill. It might have been when your talk was supposed to be on, and
now I've just got headphones and I'm going off the phone now. I'm just like, screw computers anymore. I had to break 2 bubbles to try and get on this. I'm just gonna use my phone.
Yeah, but like I've been like dabbling with that 4-ball combination, and Keegan's been like, do 2 + 1, and I sort of thought 2 + 1 was a different thing, and then he highlighted like 2 + 1, and then he was like, record yourself, look at yourself, get a baseline, and then build from that. And the other night when we were yarning, you were saying about how your 4-ball is kind of like you were stuck at 30 seconds, then you see yourself the benchmark of a longer time, and you nailed it. And that was the same with me with my left hand. It just goes all over the place. The height is so variable. And so I've even gone behind 2 + 1 and just gone to straight juggling with the left hand and trying to get that minute. And then it turns out like my left hand can only go for like 19 or 20 throws, and then it falls over. And I was like, oh shit, that's an awesome realization. And then all of a sudden I was like 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, and then got 76. I was like, boom! Right.
Yeah.
It's like finishing on a win. Finishing on a win.
Bro, that's like essentially what that talk was supposed to be like. I'm going live with them tomorrow at some point, but it's like, like if you believe that you can do something because you've done something before, i.e., I believe I can juggle because I juggle 4 balls or 2 balls in my left hand because I have juggled X balls before, then like we start connecting the dots and our beliefs become like a true story rather than I believe I can't juggle 2 balls because I don't, or 4 balls because I don't practice juggling 4 balls. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, it's all of that, man. Like growth mindset isn't just this popular term to sit in this binary concept of like we have it or we don't. We believe we can change and we can't, but it's like like another reflective tool and a global perspective that we want to dive into. It's like seeing the world in a little bit more optimism and possibility rather than scarcity and fear, because it's a shit place to live when you live in that space. Like, and I know there's lots of factors that contribute to that, and I think like that's something that Real Movement is really trying to dive into, is this idea of teaching people how to be more human. So that's it, man. Like if you set a standard high and you understand the context of which you sit in relation to the standard, and then you go out and practice and you have reflective tools and you understand that you have this perspective of growth, and fuck, like anything's possible, man. Like I just remember listening to Ryan Magic on
that was awesome.
on the
Friday.
bro, blow my mind. You know, like usually I don't dive super deep into guys that speak like that. Like they turn me off. But like there was something like you could see in his eye that he actually gave a fuck about the people that he was talking to, whether it was the 50 that were listening at the time or the thousands of people that were listening later.
Yeah.
He was like he was, so you can hear it when somebody's authentic, it rolls off their tongue. And when somebody really cares and believes in what they're saying, like the conversation won't stop. The frequency is higher. The eyes light up a little bit more. He was amazing.
I've got his notes sitting right here beside me. That was accidental, but straight away it's funny, like the vibe or the resonance of something like that. And it's like, that's the beauty of getting lessons, is then being able to share them and grow them and start those little wings flowing. But like straight away I had like 3 conversations afterwards, and I shared that, like, use willpower to make decisions that far outlast the motivation. Something that's exciting and scary creates growth and fulfillment. I was like, oh.
Yeah. And that's it, right? Like, that's it in a nutshell. Like the scary things are the cool things that lead to the cool results. I don't know if you ever popped manus off like really, really, really high objects. It's like, you know, the fear of climbing up, the fear of jumping, but the result of just making a super big splash is like so satisfying, you know. And there's all of the little climbs and troubles that you're doing as you try and get up the tree or the edge of the cliff to jump, or the wharf or wherever you're doing it. But like, yeah, it's worth it, man. Risk is worth it.
Yeah, man.
I mean, obviously there's like calculated, like this is not a grand sweeping statement saying risk everything you have. But it's like a calculated, intelligent risk, right? Like I know, like if you've got, I think Rowan said it. So Rowan said it as like, you know, if you've got a family, like obviously there's a different dynamic there of things that you need to take into account. Like you can't just be like, yep, I'm risking it all. Yep, everything's got, but yeah, just being calculated, because like the things that you don't know on the other side of will show you the things that you're capable of you might not have even expected.
Yeah, mate. Even like, well, I'm 31 now. I remember when I was younger doing front flips and knee flips on the trampoline, but always canning myself on a backflip. And then I was on a trampoline like the weekend before, or 2 weekends before lockdown, and I was just like bouncing around. I was like, I'm gonna try a backflip, and all of a sudden I was like, wow, I can do a backflip. And so now I've just opened up, exactly like you said, the possibility. Yeah. And all of a sudden it's like, shit, now I can practice backflips.
I can actually now I can get better at it. Yeah. But how like that's just a perfect example of like exactly what we're talking about, right? Like our limiting belief in what we think we can or can't do really becomes a true story if it stops ourselves from doing the thing that we want to do. I'm sure you've had millions of times that you wanted to try a backflip, but you didn't. But like you made the decision and you were like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. Flipped it. And you're like, oh my God, like what was all of that shit going on in here stopping me from doing it? Like I'm an athletic, good looking specimen. Surely I should be able to pop a backflip on a trampoline. Like, yeah.
It's buzzy, mate. I've done 133 episodes before this, and when people ask me what's my favorite, I do say it's our episode 18, and that's not to diminish everyone else because they've been incredible. But one thing that changed my life in that conversation is you retelling a conversation of when you first went to UC Berkeley and the water polo coach asked you not why do you want to come to UC Berkeley, not why do you want to play water polo, why do you want to play for us, was what are you passionate about? I have asked that question to so many people now, and even if they don't know, I feel like it plants the most gigantic seed in people.
Bro, like, it changed the way that, like, I approach everything. Like, he didn't, I still am so grateful that he asked me that question, because if I didn't ask myself that question, if he didn't ask me that question then, and Keegs hadn't asked me along the lines of similar thought of, if not who, if not you, then who, if not now, then when.
Yeah.
If he didn't ask me, if those two questions weren't asked to me, like, and I get stuck sometimes because, like, I'm good at what I do and I start building other people's dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, I get stuck because I have success in other people's dreams. And, and so, like, I slowly put into comatose my own, like, selfish visions and goals for myself, because, like, there's something nice in being good at what you do. Like, but like, you know, in this kind of situation, and of, you know, no one really knows what this is going to look like, you know, like what is different to what will be in 4 to 6 weeks in New Zealand and in Australia, globally. But if I didn't ask myself those questions, I wouldn't start the process of, like, building the things that I'm actually passionate about. And I think you asked me, like, a really good question the other day when we just had a quick chat. It's like, out of all of this, societally, what would you want to see the outcome being? And that kind of leads into it, is like, you know, you're kind of having this global reset of anything that is possible. You know, like, whatever you really thought were limiting factors before are not relevant. Like, you live in a world of, like, possibility to create. And I think one of the, like, somebody far more intelligent than me once said, is like, interruption is the cancer of creativity. So, like, in the world that we kind of sit in today, like, we're constantly interrupted by our phones, by, like, the work that we do not following our passions. And so, like, those, like, once you have your passions, obviously you've got to find, like, putting some purpose to those, and, like, the values and the foundations that you sit on. But, like, you know, just starting the question starts the thought process of, like, where am I going? Like, where's my hero's journey? What adversities am I seeking out to fucking challenge me to be better every single day? You know, and fuck, like, I'll be the first to admit, like, same as a lot of the coaches on that chat, I'm fucking human. Like, it takes me a double shot of espresso, some fucking pump up music, and maybe a couple rounds of Wim Hof to get me going in the morning. But then, like, you know, like, I don't want to be sitting in the same place I did. I don't want to be sitting in the same place tomorrow, not thinking that I've grown from today.
Mate, I got asked the question yesterday. I had a hell of a day yesterday. Did so much, and they were like, "Are you always this busy?" I was like, "No, I'm just taking this opportunity where there is so much space. There is so much space here right now." And when, you know, I'm away from my daughter, and that's changing next week, but I have so much space. So much, I'm so pumped. So much capacity to do, like I said, anything within the confines of this level 4 stuff. And it's like, here's an opportunity to be better. And, like you're saying about that interrupt is so true. There's so many ways that you could divert your attention. And then you also said about, like, living the dream, and that's where this reset, this slowdown is very, you know, and it's probably agitating me a little bit, is like, am I living my dream? and I am and I'm not, and I think that's where my frustration is. And I always talk and I've blogged about how your sense of frustration is your gift to the world, and like the concept of starting to get caught up in living and fulfilling other people's dreams. It's like a short dopamine hit that it's like, oh, I did a good thing there, but then I also distracted myself from my dream. I wasn't honest towards myself, and like that's where this disruption of COVID is mean that like what I thought, again, those stories, what I thought the story was going to be for the business that I'm in, I'm like, is this going to be a reality? Is this where I want to be? Is this how I want to live? What does it mean for my family? Like that's been disrupted. And it's just like, take a breath for a moment, enjoy it, do the things that you can do, and hang on tight, because it's going to be one hell of a ride. Like you said, 4 to 6, and maybe even hanging over for 18 years. What this world is going to be is exciting and scary. It's one of those. What did he say? Exciting and scary is creates growth and fulfillment. Like, take that in.
Yeah, like, I mean, exactly. Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head with that. Yeah, like no one knows what X is gonna be created out of this situation, but what we do know is like 90. I don't even know. This is a hyperbole. Is like 90% of the population aren't doing the thing that they probably feel most connected to, valued for, worthy of, passionate about in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, like these big fucking buildings behind me, like like they weren't created from the fucking dreams of playing small, like real movement wasn't. And I guess that's what really kind of connected us on a higher level was like our relation there with Keegs and being able to talk this kind of stuff. That wasn't dreamed on the like the shoulders of a small man, like Keeg had all of his mentors, and now he's able to mentor others, and that contagion is going to spread because you've got people that are willing to put themselves out there and challenge themselves and question everything. Like we had that conversation when you were challenged by something one of the speakers said, and I was like, hey man, like don't, and you said it back to me. Like I said, challenge everything, and you're like, yeah, that's right, don't be afraid of fucking other opinions, right? But at the same time, is like you've got to be willing to be, I guess, around people that want to share in that vision and share in that kind of global perspective that the world is very optimistic and full of possibility. Like, so sorry, dude. A little kid just tripped on his bike, but he's got training wheels, so I'm not gonna. Yeah, how do you fall off a bike with training wheels, bro?
Possible.
You're right, bud.
Good, mate. How is the ghost land of Wynyard Quarter right now?
Bruh, like I'm just kind of basking in it, because every time so last time I was down here, I actually held a workshop for the Ultimate Waterman competition that was in NZ, maybe 2017, maybe it was earlier that year before we talked. And yeah, I just did like some basic movement, locomotion, flow for athletes and spectators, and yeah, we hung out. But it was so packed and busy and chaotic, and I thought, wow, this is really, really cool. But it's also really nice when things are really quiet and not crazy and packed and there's space, like, yeah, I like the non-bumping of shoulders kind of thing that's going on at the moment. Yeah, and I'm sitting outside I'll show you a photo. I'll flip my camera. Can I do that? Yeah. So I'm just outside Team New Zealand headquarters, and a funny story. Like a good friend of mine, his S&C coach is the head of Team New Zealand's S&C coach, and like when I was starting out and trying to get into S&C, I back here in New Zealand, I really wanted to be a part of something big, like a big churning machine. Like I wanted the environment, because I remembered what it felt like as an athlete, like being in there, and I wanted to mimic my athletic experience. And so I had him reach out to like his S&C coach and like get some feelers about like potentially just dropping in and interning, like not paid. Like even though I had like a little bit of experience and I was like I believed in my coaching abilities on the floor and I was open to learn. Like in New Zealand, there's a very small fraternity of S&C coaches that are willing to give guys that haven't gone through AUT or Auckland Uni a chance, or have their PhD or are in the process of their PhD, like an opportunity just to sit in, thinking that we're going to fucking break athletes or something like that. And I remember like receiving the feedback of like, nah, he's not really interested in taking anyone in, and being like, fuck man, like if I was a coach 10 years from now with the experience that I'm going to have, my doors would always be open, because the influence that we can have in shaping the next generation of coaches, if we really believe we're doing a good job, is so infinite. And like, I like to come down, I like coming down here now because I'm just around the corner and do some work. So I've got my books. I've got a couple books in here. I think I've got Lost Connections, and I've got some chopra. I got my juggling balls in here. I got my handstand blocks. Thanks, Phil Quee. But like I've enjoyed coming down here for the last couple of days, weeks, because it's like a reminder of like, fuck, like, yo, it's a check of where that journey's kind of come from. It's like this guy kind of being like, nah, I don't want to help coach it. I don't want to help you. I'm living in like a protection of my job. It's like, bro, like, yeah, you're missing out. And now I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining.
My exposure to that is professional rugby, wanting to help them with sports vision, wanting to help them prevent and recover from concussion. Got a big fat no reply. and hey, they might be busy. They might be busy.
Bro, but like, you know what? Like, the more athletes are getting injured and facing CTE issues, the more like your product is going to end up being valued, and you're going to be like, hey, what about that time that you don't have to rub it in their face. I'm sure you're going to be super humble and have some humility with it. But it's like, now you see the value on what I'm doing. But everyone's going to have that cog shift, right, into place. Like, not everyone sees the puzzle the same way that you do, and they need to get that cog to shift, go, so it starts working.
Yeah.
Get back in.
Chuck it into gear.
It happens. The funny thing with that, bro, was that, I've got some close friends in NBA basketball, and fucking the Golden State Warriors pay this guy, their eye specialist. I don't even know what he actually does, but they pay him like millions of dollars because of like the demands of athletes to perform on the field, like visually and psychologically. and physiologically, like, are so crazy. And that, so he's able to test for all of these different factors that are going on. And like, you know, everyone's afraid to be first.
Mm.
You know, like, I'm sure there's like lots of people that would have thought that's stupid, but you know, like those firsts end up being the common denominator 5 years from now in every other performance sports team. So
The frustrating thing
yeah,
is there's
that,
a documentary. It's about the English rugby team when they won the World Cup in 2003, and there is a massive part of it about the behavioural optometry that they
not
did.
not Invictus say that
I think it's like Sweet Chariot or something like.
fictitious.
Not Invictus, no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that propaganda.
Yeah,
That Safa propaganda.
yeah, that never happened. I did not.
That never happened. What are you
I did,
talking about?
I did not watch Jeffels and Spur up on the sideline when I was 7 years old. 7 years old, yeah. I remember the golden locks being pulled back and him being like, poor Jeff. Invercargill's finest effort.
That's why he's bald now, eh?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, no, I think Jeff's probably Invercargill's finest.
It's what about you, mate? Look at you. What are you, 6'4",
just
8% body fat,
probably 9.
shredded to the gills. Ladies, what are you waiting for?
Yeah. What is it? Isolation.
Yeah. Sorry,
cue it up. Not.
Nah.
Yeah. I don't know. It is like you were saying about the protected thing, the safety net, and as you showed me that structure, it is like this is housing, and it's not a university, isn't it? It's like, and we're seeing that. I don't know if you listen to Lex Friedman and Eric Weinstein talk, but that was the thing they were talking about. That the problem with the Western world is it's built on growth, and when you have one professor create 20 PhDs, and those 20 PhDs create 20 more PhDs, guess what? There's no space now for professors, and so to get tenure now as a professor just takes forever, and then so it becomes this privileged class who decide on who gets the PhD and who gets the associate professorship and teaching fellowship and stuff, and it just becomes this mess of politics and stuff. And that's also the same with New Zealand, is that with and I'm sure it's the same across the board, it's just at scale. When the aim is growth, you create scarcity. Yeah, I can think of so many parallels to that. The aim is growth, and so you create scarcity, and people's knowledge becomes commoditized, and therefore you lose that collaborative nature, which is what schooling and university is supposed to be collegial, but that's fallen by the wayside. And that's again what's so refreshing about an intensive like what we had on the weekend was just so powerful. It was like open source, clearly sharing information. And again, like he was saying about those moments clicking into the cogs. Like I've followed Keegan since 2013, and that's the first time I've jumped into real movement to see what's behind the veil. And holy shit, is it impressive! The moment that you unlock their platform, it's just like, whoa, that is a service.
When you pull back the curtain, right? Like, holy shit. He's fucking unreal, man. And what he's creating is like something that is so accessible and digestible in a world that is super noisy of that content. Like it's like he's making coaching development like cool again. It was like there's lots of coaching development specialists out there, organizational psychologists, really diving into like how to create this, and but like they speak in a language that isn't as accessible to everyone as they think it is. Like they're speaking a very privileged academic language because they dived in and studied it quite deeply. So there's lots of assumptions made at the level of people that are trying to access their information. But what Keegan's actually done is created something that anyone can access at any time, and if you choose to take action on it, like it will change your life, and you'll have a global community of people supporting you because everyone in that community cares that everyone is getting better because of that whole concept of a rising tide floats all boats. Like, imagine if everyone in that community could hit a 60-second handstand. Boom. What the fuck does that unlock? What if everyone in that community could jump on a podcast and speak about what they're passionate about for an hour for bars hold? What does that unlock? And that's what he's doing. And, you know, I mean, he's got lots of great support behind him, and I know he acknowledges them and the people around him. But yeah, he's doing an epic job.
And that was what was really cool. Like, you know, you were scheduled.
There's no.
Well, we broke it.
I was just gonna say, there's no. You there?
Yeah, we're there.
You there?
Yeah.
There's no like fear in that culture of speaking up or standing up. So like you've got a bunch of people that, like, you know, a lot of some of the stuff early on, like I didn't quite understand what like Keegan was trying to do, and like I've seen him fail and succeed and fail and succeed and to where he is now. I'm sure he's going to have lots more failures and lots more successes, but fuck, I'm sure he's chasing them down. He's like, yo, let me grow. But like you've got a bunch of people in there that will quit everything, you know? And I think you're way more valuable to a community and a culture if you're willing to ask the question, like be a bit not so much of a yes man and follower. And I think that's what's there. I think that's what high performing culture is. Like, I don't know if you've read the book Culture Code by Dan Coyle. If you haven't, you can borrow it if you pay it forward to the next person. But like essentially it looks at the common denominators of what high performing teams have in common. And like one of the things is like the communication is like on a level of like, yeah, we're trying to get shit done here. I was like, yeah, and get better. And it's not it's necessarily nice all the time.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I have read that actually, but maybe not. I must dabble in it and see if it springs to mind something. But you're saying about there's no fear in that, and that's what was really cool about the opportunity. Like he had you lined up to do an hour, and you're still going to be able to do that hour, but like even getting people to jump on and do 5 to 10 to 15 minutes. And it was really fun, like you said, to talk about your passion. So I purposefully made sure I went in there without really preparing and spoke to a topic I'm hugely passionate about. Now I managed to, you know, because I knew where to find them, quickly download the paper that I was speaking to, and it's about fasting and rat models for macular degeneration, because I just see that as such a parallel to society. It's like a metabolic syndrome, it's a toxicity syndrome, and then it's this tool of fasting that's a real mindset thing, and it's an expanding possibility. So yeah, that was really fun to then test myself. Could I speak for 10, 15 minutes on this topic just off my passion and my interest? And you know, that was hugely rewarding. Like, holy cow, maybe I could talk more of that, and I sort of hope to. And then you also brought up like special teams, elite teams, and when Greg Emerson was on, he was talking about how there's not a SAS person, there's special forces teams. There's, you know, the reason why I love a lone survivor is so epic is because he's using those team skills to survive, and sure enough, it's usually the team that they protect, and it's Victoria Crosses are about that service that the person did for the sake of the team, for the sake of their team members, for the sake of their community, or the sake of their story. Man, it's like vibes. Something showed up to me the other day that it was something about like people buy into the special forces, and they start off with defeating their country and the ideal, but really it becomes this team unit, and they're defending each other because shit, that's got to be a pressure cooker. But yeah, it's amazing how, like you say, in a team context, things grow. And when you are in a team and you've got toxic members or toxic leaders, it's an age-old question: what creates success? What creates a winning team? But it's just this complete vibe and complete buy-in that creates that winning culture. And even if, like you were saying at the start, that culture dies out and you haven't achieved what you all bought into, the outcome of it is also so powerful. You're this unit, you're this family, you're given your soul to each other, you've bought into a common ideal. So yeah, it's an awesome thing to then find to be a part of it. And I'm unsure about where real movement applies to me because I'm not in strength and conditioning, that SNC, the word that you keep saying, strength and conditioning. But in terms of coaching and leadership, there's already so much value out of that. And, I've recommended it to a number of people that are involved in that space. And, I'm finding value. And then my mate that did buy in and part of it, man, he's just, in the space of a weekend, exploded in his ideas. And I need to connect him up with you because we spoke on.
Where's he based?
He's in Auckland. He works for Millennium. He works with Westlake, but in rowing. And he was talking. I'm sure it's good if I talk about it because it might give him a little bit of accountability. But he's like what you did with water polo, getting these people out of school, giving them that goal. That why, again, if not you, then who else? Why can't you go and row scholarship in the States and pay your university in a more worldly manner and instead of kicking it about it in New Zealand, getting drunk, you could create exponential growth. You could be worldly, you could be world-class education, and you could be world-class rowing system. And hey, you don't want to be first, because there are some people in rowing that have gone to the States and it's disrupted their pathway, but already those people that have been disruptors in that pathway are finding that the path back, that return journey, that hero's journey is starting to be recognized. So it might just be that paradigm shift, and he might be the leader in that field when it comes to rowing.
Yeah, I guess then the question I would put back to you is one, I think that's you don't know what you don't know, right? And you can't do what you can't do. But at the end of the day, the question of whether real movement applies to you ends up being how do you want it to apply to you?
Yeah.
What do you want it to mean for you? Because again, in a world of endless possibility and opportunity, why the fuck not could you be X, Y, and Z of what you want to be for this program? Obviously, I'm not the spokesperson of it, but I feel like that's the kind of perspective shift that I like operating in and we always think of the world in a two-part, in a cost-benefit way. But I think, and that's good, and it has its benefits, and it has its pros and it has its cons. But then we've got to think about it in another way when we add of cost. Is what's the cost of not doing this?
That's right.
We have the cost of doing it, of doing the thing. Yeah, I know it's going to take everything that I have, and it's going to take financial commitment, X, Y, and Z. But then on the other side of that, what's the fucking cost of not doing the thing? The cost is I might just stay building other people's dreams.
That's right.
And I think like what this, from what I get from this project and how I want to see it is like I'm allowed the freedom to learn, grow, fail, put content up. That's right, that's wrong, and I'll be taught.
That's right.
And supported in keeping my evolution. Like, and it's not the be all and end all. Like once I've written my book on aquatic S&C and coaching, like then like I'm putting it out there for everyone to challenge it. Prove me wrong. Like make everything that I've said in this book unvaluable. Like if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like, but please, like put it to the test. Like, Like,
yeah, and that's what I want to highlight is that I want to really, really, really highlight the value that I've achieved in a small time frame. The way that I'm thinking, it was 3 weeks of lockdown went by, and I've been exploring a number of ideas with a number of different people, but a massive paradigm shift happened in the space of one weekend, in the space of one group coaching call with Keegan. There wasn't an individual call, but there was like so much value out of that. 2 or 3 little takeaway points make so much difference. It's that butterfly effect. And then you brought up an awesome point there about like put it out into the world and see what happens. And that's what I've been trying to do more of in hosting this podcast, and also being guests on other podcasts. And even in the case of the intensive, was like talk for 15 minutes, express your ideas, and see what the feedback is, because feedback allows you to grow.
Right.
And like that's what Rob Wolf did the other day. He attacked, or didn't attack, he digested the 5G conspiracy, and then somebody just made a flippant comment, and he was like, bro, go through line for line and get back to me, because I put a shit ton of research into this, and if you think I'm wrong, tell me. And I bet you that person didn't do that. But yeah, it does take a little bit of courage. I keep coming back to this word courage. Somebody else that wasn't there on the weekend, Metamorph, what's his name?
Mitch Pike.
Mitch Pike. Yeah,
Pike.
We got to the crux of it was courage. Of all what he talks about with Metamorph, is courage to take that step, to do it, to risk ratio and stuff like that. Yeah, it's powerful.
And it's about like going to your left side of your chest, like feeling that heartbeat and fucking acting on that, and stop letting this thing coach you out of it.
Yeah.
Like you can easily get coached out of anything, but it's like, who are you when you daydream? Like when you end up sitting and you've been in work for a couple of hours, like, where are you? Like, are you out on the farm, like doing the thing, you've got your farm, like you're visualizing all of it. These are small like things that professional athletes use as high level tools to like see them through the hardest of adversities in competition. Like, and if you're always there, there's a question to be asked there. And it's like, but then on the other side of that question is like, do you have the courage to act on it? Do you have the courage to look awkward amongst the people that, or weird, like seen as a weirdo, like in front of like people that are your peers? Like, oh shit, I just exited the Zoom. Hold up.
Are you
Let me
here?
bring it back. I'm here.
Yeah, it's just your video.
Yeah, I'm sure there's like hundreds of aquatic people around the world that wonder, why the fuck do I lift super heavy weights and then practice strict gymnastics?
Yeah.
Like what's the correlation? And it's like, I'm just learning to grow. And like, why do I program like different things and locomotion and movement, and my programming is like, because like I can only coach from where I've come from. Like I can only coach people to kind of feel my experience to the best of my abilities and where I've been. So like, I'm going to give you the best of me, like, and that is the best of me when I'm doing those things. So why not program that kind of stuff?
Yeah. as I said before, I brought up the question I got asked yesterday. Like, are you always that busy? I think like those people questioning your day to day, your patterns, your what you're doing. That's curiosity, and take that as a compliment. You're setting as an example. It like when I get that 8-year-old or 5-year-old even, and I ask them what's their passion, and their mum and dad look at me like, "What? This person is 5," and the child sort of looks to their mum and dad.
Fuck, high five that. Boom.
And
High five that.
what's amazing is like the child will look to their mum or their dad to be like, "What on earth does that mean?" And because they've never ever been exposed to that question, and it's like, and I say to them, "What is the thing that you love? What would you love to do?" Especially when they're 5, I'm like, "You're 5, you can do anything. What would be the thing that you would love to do?" And they still might not come up with an answer. They might go really shy. But I've just gone, "Here you go, take that away. This is an eye exam, but take that away."
You gotta plant a seed, right? Plant a seed. Yeah, you're welcome. This social psychology test was free.
Yeah, but and what I also hope with that is like that moment that the child looks at their parents for like reassurance or whatever, and often the parent has got a blank look in their face. Hopefully that also like speaks to them like, shit, what am I passionate about?
Yeah.
What do I want my child to be passionate about? What do I want to expose them to?
Bro, that just reminded me of like when I did like a little bit of like a values kind of reset, and it came, and I was just kind of, so like I was saying before, I was sitting in a place where I was building other people's dreams. I was helping people build their businesses, make money, and then like I'd kind of get disinterested because like I put my like heart into X, Y, and Z. There was no growth in it for me, but yeah, and so I did some work and dived into like what are my like actual values, and the fact at the end of the day, like I have a couple, but where it all kind of stemmed from was like I want to be somebody that my nephews and nieces are super fucking proud of. Like at the simplest, like there's lots of other values that come along with that, but the end result is I want them to tell stories about how cool and what kind of person I was, like, or I am, and the things that I was able to do and conquer. And that's like super humbling, right? It's like if you start from a place of like where you were most inspired from, and like you dive into that, like there's so many different things that come up for people. But yeah, that was mine, and I think that's such a cool question to ask young kids, right? It's like, what are you passionate about? Because then it does exactly what you're saying. It's like it starts parents asking themselves, like, what am I fucking passionate about? Like, is it just raising a family? How am I inspiring my family? Like, again, like, I mean, my older brother is he's an anaesthetist. He juggles 10 balls, 30-second hands, 10 balls, 5 balls, 30-second handstands, squats 150. Like, he is an anomaly, has 3 kids, and a happy family, but like that's somebody. Oh, hold up. Why do I keep doing this?
Keep bumping it. I want to see a beautiful face, man, and that awesome hair.
My afro.
Yeah, it's me.
My Krusty the Crown flow. But yeah, like that's kind of like what the potential for parenthood is, right? Like, and you're doing it as well to the best of your abilities in the given circumstances. Like, you're being a fucking inspiration by taking courage and doing the things that scare the shit out of you. I'm sure it's not easy preparing podcasts and getting merch and fucking just trying to be a dad in these times. Like, man, and like you guys are heroes. Like, I'm just a guy that says words. I'm just a guy at the end of the day that says words to kids to kind of get them to overcome small things like shooting a fucking ball into a net. Like that's all I do.
Against someone that wants to rip your dogs off and in my case knee you in the face, like that's the real risk to follow. It's danger.
I thought yeah Not smart move. I never start anything. I always end it.
Yeah. Yes. I think your words were, "Are you ready for this, bro?"
But I swear that's not true. And anyone that's listening, I'm a nice guy.
Yeah, you didn't get an exclusion for
Do
that.
you
It was
know?
on the
Do you know
turnover.
do you know? Do you know who says that they're nice guys? Not nice
Dangerous,
guys. So obviously
dangerous
I'm an
man.
asshole. Dangerous man.
Yeah,
I've got a series of skills.
yeah. Fuck. And then on your other side, like you saying about words, like your other brother, like what's it like to
Oh,
hear words that are so deep, so profound? Like I always, when I'm in like a lost state, I go and listen to Ep Piece all the time, man.
bro, I don't even know if you've heard some of his new stuff, like his solo stuff.
No.
Um, and they're on his Instagram at Peace ATPACE. But he's going through some challenging times at the moment because he works with, so there's at-risk youth, and then there's kids that have just been tossed to the side that have been deemed as too hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so he works with these kids, and so he's a dad, a family man, an artist, an ex-athlete. He had his NFL career cut short because his knee was chop blocked, and shit, if ATG was around then, he would be still playing. Well, shit, his journey is his own, right? Like you never know, but you know, he like he writes from a place of like just authenticity. Like I feel this way. This is my process of dealing with how I feel, and then like I move on. And some songs he's shared with me maybe 5 years ago. Like, hey, you remember that song that you talked about this and this? Like, bro, that was just how I felt at the time, and now I'm through it. Like, but I appreciate it. But like, yeah, it's exactly the same, right? Like, we all have our artistic kind of side to us, but he's the prodigy. I'm probably the redheaded stepchild, bro. Like to be honest, like like he's got his whatever gold or X record, like he's sold enough records, and he's got enough tattoos for everyone. And do you know what I give him props to? Like he is a loyal motherfucker, and he stayed with Tom through everything, through
Yeah.
like At Peace, through Average Rap Band, through their own things. Like he just, he really believes in like the person that Tom could be, and I think that's like some leadership right there. Is staying with people and seeing who the nth level of them is before they even know what it is. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
When Tom,
yeah.
when Tom released Evandale Bowling Club, I was like, was sitting out on the balcony in Ballina in the sun, listening to that album, and I tagged him, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, bro, that's like real down music, not happy." And I was like, "Mate, this is like the most deepest shit ever. It is so epic." And he's like, "Thanks, man."
Well, that whole album is so amazing because not album, but that whole Girl Songs album.
Oh, on that piece, yeah, fuck.
and bro, and it's like him diving into the psychology of being a male, realizing that you've got like some demons and some animalistic like nature to like basic primal needs and necessities, and like the battle of like what is it, like the 3 levels of consciousness, like that's very Socratian like dialogue there. And you're just like, bro, you are a demon talking about fucking this existential to like ancient philosophy, relating it to a shitty relationship or a relationship that you had. Like it's beautiful stuff, man. Like yeah, he's a very talented guy himself, man.
Yeah, what's the song that so that's the first album, Girl Songs.
There's some bad songs on that as well, bro.
Can't Like Fish. that song is bad. And flowers, jeez, my dad.
Flowers get bro. Flowers. So I listened to that song like from front to that album from front to back, and like it took me on this wild emotional roller coaster because it had me. It was like a reflect. I was holding up a mirror. I used the mirror fucking analogy again, metaphor. Oh, a mirror to my own relationships.
Yeah.
And I like, ooh.
Yeah.
And then like when like my dad comes on, and you're like, oh, something there. Like, am I?
Yeah.
My dad? Like, am I? Like,
And,
what's going on here? So,
the first one, At Peace, like the last 3 songs, like, man, I get like tears in my eyes now. Like, Skies Are Falling, At Peace, nothing.
bro.
Like, that's like some insignificance shit. And then, like, obviously the other albums I've put out are all about insignificance and like significance in an insignificant universe.
What?
Like, holy shit.
Yeah. What is it? What's that line? It's like, I know one day I'll be at peace. At least someday, I hope at least. Or some shit.
Yeah.
That's not even the melody. I just absolutely murdered it. Oh,
And
man.
the black bird
And then,
in my
like,
backyard.
blackbird on my black. Oh,
My backyard.
dude.
Turns to the earth
I might just.
and goes to
I
the
might
sea.
just go.
Sea to rebirth. Fuck, it's so good.
And that reminds me of like why we all do like all the things like that we do, like because like we want to have significant impact with each other, and we realize that we're not so different or not connected to one another.
Yeah.
There's the story of like lots of people share this um, um, in the book of Gita, and I'm not like a religious guy at all, but like I love high level mythology and like moral sentiment within it. But like in the book of Gita, Hanuman, who's the bodyguard of Ram, and Hanuman is the monkey king, I guess, like you could say. He's the guy that does the front splits, and like that's why your journey into splits in yoga, front splits, is called the leap of Hanuman, and it represents like your back foot represents your past and your routine, and your front foot represents like a step into the future. But I guess the story I'm trying to think about is when Hanuman talks to Ram, and Ram is the earthly incarnation of God, and he says, like, when I don't know who I am, I serve you. and then after some time of serving, like I realize that I am you.
Wow.
And it's a super prophetic kind of thing to dive into, of this idea of like when I'm not who I fear, when I'm not comfortable with myself, or I don't know where I am in the world, like if I dive into service and gratitude and being for others, like, and we can mimic this in today's time, is like serve your community, serve your family, serve your mind. Like we get a real sense of like who we are and who we're supposed to be in this world. And like I think that's real beautiful, because it reminds us that we're all fucking connected, baby. We're all energy, baby. And so you are not so different from me, and I'm not so different from you. But the key thing is that I take action to be of service and of gratitude, so that I know who I am and my place in the world.
Mean. Whew. So, mate, tomorrow I'm going to hear why mental matters, and
why mentals matter.
Mentals matter. Why?
Yeah.
Can you give us a cliff notes for the guests of the Stag podcast?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys are listening to this before you dive into my live with Keats and tomorrow, I guess why your mentors matter was like a big journey for me in terms of opening up what we've dived into today, and a look of seeing the world a bit more optimistic. I was personally living in a world of like feeling powerless to do a lot of the things that I really wanted to do because of the stories that I had created in my own head. And then at the start of this year, I lost an athlete who meant a lot to me.
Shit.
And
That's tough, man.
and this isn't and it's not a sad chat, but so I lost an athlete that meant a lot to me. And then as a coach, you kind of go to a place of like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why does this even matter? And so it was a it was a deep dive of introspection on like the things that you can create out of positive psychology, which is a super hyped up term, uh, as well as creating like an epic high performing culture.
Mm-hmm.
And what that actually means. Like we can say we want it, but what does that actually mean? So yeah, why mentors matter. Like we'd look into like a little bit of mental skills work. Like it's not going to be an in-depth look of like what meditation is. Like I think that arena has really, really been filled by all of the high-level neuroscientists. But why I use it is the question that I look at, as well as the other mental skills that we look at. So visualization, breath work, goal setting, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's not to be a sad story. It's actually a very happy story because his legacy is something really beautiful. So yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to also make this a sad story either, but when Alexa was speaking and she opened up with, right now is the season of suicide, and she, you're seeing lots of things like check in on your strong friends, check in on your quiet friends. And so when I spoke with Will Fleming the first time in Auckland, off camera, we had this discussion around, do the likes of you and I delve deep into why that person feels that way? And if we've never felt that way, do we then become in danger of getting that thought pattern? I don't know. You spoke about doing the hard things that don't matter so that you can then apply them to the hard things. But then as a coach, then there becomes this guilt or like as a friend or as a mentor, the responsibility of it all. I don't know. It's just this heavy thing.
And that's the balance. Like the balancing act that you play as like a coach or somebody that works with somebody, a team leader, is that you've got to, and this is why this shit actually matters, is because like you have to be able to elegantly, with grace and poise, dive into being a friend as well as maintaining that leadership as well. And so like then it becomes a question of like, how do you view power? And power isn't something that is given or taken. It's something that's shared. And if you as a coach can come to terms with this idea of the power being a shared thing, then you're able to create a culture of like honesty and openness and having tough chats. And like whether you are going through like whatever issues that you're going through, you're able to like attack them on from a like we level, like a societal or a team and a group level, which gives people more power, I think. And I think that's why we have a lot of this social media awareness around mental health is because like when we attack things from like a team or a universal level, we don't feel so helpless in the thing that we're trying to attack. And that's why we see the same kind of concepts being applied to this idea of fitness. Like we're fitness, nothing else. We'll just say fitness because is that like everyone is. I think we've got this cognitive thing that everyone is working out. So now, like, let's attack our fitness from a universal level, or our health. Let's say health. Like, so people are making, I hope, positive changes in this time frame of looking after their health, whatever that looks like. But yeah, I mean, I think if this is why like mentals matter, and like I'll go into it probably in depth. I don't know where it's going to go. Like I never know where these podcasts are going to go.
Yeah.
But like I don't think you expose yourself to suffering from like a mental illness, and this is my unexpert opinion on this, if you reach out to help and coach. I think that's a big misnomer, and like the reason why people don't reach out is because they're scared that they'll like take on other people's problems. But like often like people aren't looking for an outside of like clinical biologically like depressed or like whatever depression or mental illness there is. I think like people are actually on the lower scale of things, like which a lot of people probably sit in. Like people are actually searching connection, and that's why that like Hanuman, that story of Hanuman actually matters, because it's like what we're actually striving for is like a little bit more connection to others as well as connection to ourselves. And so if you've got like a little bit of a self-reflective practice, which I'm sure you do already, is like you can understand, you probably have the capacity to ask yourself those tough questions of like, oh shit, why am I feeling this way? And then diving to those Toyota 5 whys and going 5 whys deeper. I feel this way because X. And then like making a decision or choice to be like, shit, I might need to go get some help for this. And man, fuck, I'm team therapy all the way. Like if, some people need it, some people don't, some poo-poo it, some don't, like, but it helped me. Like, and so, I'm not every human, but like, I limited a lot of my probably athletic potential because of some stories that I told myself that I didn't belong in the teams that I was already in. Like, I had a huge imposter syndrome when I was playing professionally. I was like, fuck, can I actually hack it? And then like, I'm scoring goals every game. I'm defending the biggest dudes. I remember the story I told you the other night.
Massive Cubans came out of labs.
I was defending. Yeah, I was defending massive Cubans that came out of Soviet Russia, genetically manufactured for water polo, hands the size of dinner plates. And I was there and I was doing it. So like, what the fuck was that about? And like, that's when I came back and started playing in Australia. What was my limiting? Sorry, somebody's calling me. What was my limiting factor and why I had the career I had, and what was like the other side of that story as well? Like, what were the lucky things that happened to me? Because like it's often we dwell on that small little dot that isn't real, isn't the end. So yeah. I don't know where this podcast went, bro. You had me fucking crying. What the fuck?
Sorry, bro. It was you.
No, you're good.
You took that around to an awesome place and an awesome finish, and I think, like you say, and that's what we all sort of got to the mental hygiene. Like we've created mental health to be this contagion germ theory, where actually it's about unity and community and drive and helping each other and collaborating our ideas and exploring our ideas and verbalizing our ideas, being there to listen and stuff like that. And so,
Yeah.
even that was a clear example there. Like, you can talk and express yourself and get those good vibes again. Like, it's
And like,
a journey.
and that's it, man. Like I've never been to a place where I've wanted to hurt myself or end my life or shit like that. So I can't relate on that level. But what I can relate to is like feeling helpless and feeling out of control and feeling like and having issues of worth. And so like whether like my story resonates or not, like I'll always be honest from where I come from because I can't take you where I haven't been. So, but I can I can aspire to, I guess, inspire you to take control of what is in front of you and mastering your challenges.
Yeah. So,
hey, bro.
Let's wrap it
Oh,
up.
you go.
Yeah, I was going to say, people find you on Iosefa Tuiasau. Is that right?
Yeah, my full name, last name. I had a long battle with that. I had a very long battle with that. I used to not be able to. I used to feel uncomfortable. Here's a cool story. I used to be uncomfortable with telling people my full name because one, it was inconvenient for them to have to learn how to pronounce it, but actually it was more inconvenient for me because then they'd fuck it up more often than not in trying to pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just have dived into like embracing like my full name because there's power in that. It's like there's a reason my dad gave it to me. It's my grandfather's name who chose to come here from Samoa and make a better life for his family and follow his love. And then Tuiasau means king of Asau. So like there's something to that is to own your heritage is like very, very powerful. And I think Europeans do it very well in their crest of honor. And then I think Samoans, especially living in Australia and New Zealand, sometimes hide behind it. And I think when I put that up, when I changed my Instagram handle, like I felt more powerful as well. I was like, oh, cool. Like this is a better reflection of who I am now. I was like, I'm real proud of my culture. Like, and I'm real proud of what like guys like myself and Ezra and all of those real high level motivators in the NRL that are doing good things are doing for the culture because they care, and other sports around the world. Like, talking about these tough questions because, the least well-off communities like Polynesian PI communities are often the ones that are overlooked in terms of they still face these issues, but then there's another level to it in terms of tradition and family life dynamics that play into it. So, yeah. So that's another story. There we go. More powerful. So you can find me on that on Instagram. Website should be out by the end of lockdown. And then, just reach out if you ever want to chat. It can be about anything. Doesn't even have to be about sport, aquatics. Wouldn't even dive into the sports side of my life, which is fucking good for once. Everyone wants to talk about sports. I don't care. I don't care about that anymore.
It's just your passion.
No. It's my platform to deliver my passion for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. If I didn't have it and I didn't have that experience, I wouldn't be able to deliver what I give a fuck about.
Yeah, man. So you've given us so much. The wrap it up question is what shows up in your life, what serves you over and over and over again. Yeah.
Is that the question you're asking me?
Yeah, of you. What's the one thing of you that shows up over and over again and serves you?
It's that, like, that's a really good question. What serves me over and over again besides black coffee in the morning?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, man, I am missing some like quality espresso from Ozone up here. Yeah, but besides, but I think that's it. It's like ritual. It's like coffee, and get energized, like whatever that looks like. Every morning it serves me, and then I guess it's that Lululemon factor, right? Is like do one thing a day that scares you.
Yes. I didn't know that's
Um,
associated with Lululemon. Me. I like
uh,
that.
yeah, I think that's part of their like mantra or some shit like that. So
Mantra.
do one thing a day that scares you. And so today, the thing that scared me was uh, walking away from my computer and doing this conversation without my computer as a side note for my tools and stuff, and just freestyling. But I did it, and it's good. It feels good.
I mean, you said about mantra. When we've got Deepak Chopra's book there, I got my mantra from him, and it's Satnam. And yesterday or the day before,
Ah,
I finally found out what that is. It's truth. I was like, whoo, cool.
I heard a really cool one today. Man, we could go on forever, eh?
Yeah.
This is
Just
one of our things.
can
Is
open.
I think I heard one today, and it was when we look at words like as in their whole entirety, we often lose the meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And then this person was like, look at this word, and it was bless, and it was
Yes.
like, what does that mean to you? And like all these people like explained like in the notes, it was like, it means the X, Y, and Z. It means to be gifted and to be talented and all this other shit. And it's like, no, bless is for you as an individual. It's like to be less.
Mm.
Stop trying so hard. Stop trying so hard to be X, Y, and Z. Just be less. Ask for less, and then you'll be blessed.
Wow.
Wow, wait.
Yes.
Boom.
I mean, I'm gonna pause because you've
Yeah,
got a phone call to get on, and I've got lawns to mow, and man, and
yeah.
I've got to get this out to the world as well, so that they
All
can
right.
hear it, and then they can join Real Movement and tune in to
And
hear
they
more
and they can
tomorrow.
see my nipples. All
Yeah,
right.
epic, bro. I'm
All
pressing
right, my
stop.
brother. All
Cheers.
right.